You just get all that in before the recording starts, that's good. I just never realized what I said. Never noticed this. Chris.
I had. You might not seen Chris.
Oh, really? Okay.
Of course, when it's cold, but I just haven't seen Chris or Penny either one. Of course, I just kind of mind my own business. I just do what I gotta do and keep moving.
Sure.
Normally I see him drive by, but I haven't seen him drive by in 2 or 3 weeks. Liz moved to California.
Did you really?
So I just kind of, I just kind of mind my business. I just, what I gotta do. Normally I see him drive
Hey,
by.
Chris.
Drive by.
I'm supposed to have my meter pulled up like next Monday,
Okay.
because we're gonna have a new electric service. for it.
Dan call in,
Is
okay.
that cool and everything? Okay,
It was scheduled for this past Monday and
well.
Yeah.
Nasty there.
yeah, I've been in touch with your contractor.
And we'll be in Florida. But Ryan should be there.
Okay. We're in 4-7, so that's a quorum. Or is it 9? It's 9, isn't it?
No, we don't have.
We don't have a quorum.
We need one
We're
more.
short one. Or you actually on the thing? I'm a voting member, yeah, what is this,
We
Brad?
got 4, we need 5.
You the fifth one?
Well, Jason, he sent out the email, didn't he? I'm assuming he'll be here. You good? You good? Oh, really? Plain old woman, I even know that.
Certainly, like you.
I feel sorry for you. No, no, no.
Everything taken care of, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we were just about to adjourn.
No, he was busy with his job over there.
Got called in.
I think he's probably the one that's coming. We'll go ahead and start. Pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think I was there either.
I think Jason was the only one here.
Did you think? Okay, I
I was
wasn't.
up talking to myself.
You didn't mind that?
Sorry.
It's all right. I think it's safe to say that basically the minutes would have consisted of what Tom brought us. It's pretty much what we talked about.
Nothing too earth shattering. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, that is good. Actually, why don't we just, traditionally start with your report?
Okay. So then, I think everyone's got one. Previously, from the last meeting and before, the Hagerstown Brewing Company, just a slight update, there's been a little bit of activity inside, constructing interior partition walls. I did stop in there yesterday. She asked that I come by and poke my head in there. And during that visit, she mentioned that ATF had been there. And I'm thinking, firearms? What are they showing? Is there bombs in here or what? But alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Ah, yeah.
She said they had a visit from ATF and that visit went very well. And they gave them some insight into some things to do with serving and the space and admission or being able to keep underage people out of certain areas. So it sounded like it was an informative visit for the Conwells, for them to show up. So that was kind of a positive thing. It's always nice when the government shows up and claims to be here to help. That sometimes they actually can. So that was good to hear. And they're trying. That's really all I've got on that. The Department of Natural Resources regarding the mobile home park up here on Jones Road. They had been in contact with the owners regarding the two mobile homes that are closest to Jones Road. They're in the floodway. They've been in touch with the owners and they are requiring them to remove those two mobile home units from that part of the property. And my last contact with the DNR was actually today. And he said they'll be doing a follow-up visit to ensure that those two units are removed on May the 15th. And that's all the new information I have for that. There is a newly constructed meter structure with 4 meters disconnects to serve those. And I asked the gentleman at DNR if those were an issue for him. And he said they did talk about that and they are not an issue with DNR. And they will be able to use the power that would come through those for campers that are in that part of the mobile home park. And he said that he did discuss with them what was allowed in allowing campers to occupy that space, but not mobile homes. So that's an update on that project. The Tidewater project where they're looking to add on to their home, it's in the fringe of the floodway. There's nothing new. We're still waiting on a surveyor and some information before I can give them a floodplain construction permit, a local permit to do what they're wanting. So that's still on hold. Weather has, I'm sure, a lot to do with that. Manchester, the latest information I have from Dave Endestrote, who's with Mace Design. They're doing the drawings for the building and kind of overseeing that part of it. They have filed for a variance, I think I mentioned last meeting, regarding the setback distance from the existing building, the total square footage once the project is complete. And their plan is to have sprinkler heads closer than the required down the south wall of the existing building so that it can be an open building without having a fire break wall between the new structure and the existing structure. Haven't heard anything about that variance being approved or not. Dave said that the plans are very close to being submitted to the state for their construction design release. Giving him the okay to do a little bit of grade work because there's some earthwork that needs to be done that isn't footing and foundations. So there may be some equipment coming in there soon as the weather permits to kind of scrape off some of the high parts and get the leveling of the surrounding area where they need. So that project, though, I'm guessing be coming for permits somewhere between, my guess would be 3 to 6 weeks. They would hope to have the releases to be able to come and get the local building permits, improvement location permits, so on and so forth with that. So that's getting close. They're anxious, I'm sure. In regards to the permits for that, we had talked about, and I know at town council, we had talked about striking a particular part of,
I can give you an update on that.
okay,
I talked to John and that was actually introduced at the last meeting. So the only thing left to do is that will be voted on at the April, what is that, first, second meeting, whatever that Monday is. So there's nothing, anything else to do. It's just, it was introduced, so it's just a vote now. So it should, that's 2 weeks away, so it should be third.
great. Is it your feeling that there'll be a majority in favor of dropping that off?
I think it had a unanimous as far as the.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think anyone was really against it.
I did with the information Dave gave me, the square footage on that building is 44,625 on the new addition. And the projected building cost is $3.5 million. And with the fee schedule that we currently have in place, that would put the permit at about $8,540 for construction. So just to give you, I mean, versus 500. Is there any kind of update on website?
Yep, so I was able to get some more stuff from Julie, as to, you know, what they thought needed to be changed, removed, altered. And I'm going through, it's called a site map, and it's an Excel sheet of every single page and every single link. And it's just a big, long Excel sheet. So I've been going through that Excel sheet, making changes to what is now applicable to our town, because our current website's pretty behind. So making all those changes, I got an email from the state just the other day asking for an update. So hopefully we can get that. Once that site map is all done, it's a long Excel sheet. Once that's all done, their go live is usually within a month or two.
Great.
So hopefully get that done soon.
So we can skip that next thing. Oh, well. So going to the new part of that, stop work order was issued on the strip mall that contains the grocery and the hair salon and what used to be Lumpy's down on the east end. There's construction work going on there and no permits, no construction design release. And so I put a stop work order on there. They're gonna need a construction design release from the state because there's substantial plumbing, sanitary system work that they've relocated toilets and sinks and all kinds of things like that. So I did speak to a design professional today, as a matter of fact, got back with me on what he thinks, to hear what we need to be able to progress in the project. So he's going to start working on drawings, and he has someone that can stamp the drawings and get with us as that proceeds, to be able to get it filed through the state and do the remedial work of being able to expose the plumbing that's now under slab, because none of it was looked at. And so there's progress on that. That's a new
So what
project.
are they putting there?
Pardon me?
What are they gonna do with it?
He's hoping to put it in as a restaurant, and he mentioned Indian and or Mexican.
Oh, we need more Mexican.
And then we're for about 3 years now.
There'll be possibly a request for BZA variance. The property at 98 West Parkway Drive currently is a single family dwelling. It's zoned R1 residential, which only allows single family dwellings and accessory structures to that. The owners are considering demolishing that home and building a duplex on that corner parcel. So I've passed that information along to them, that it would require a BZA to put that there, and I haven't heard back yet. 300 South Pearl, Brad Taylor has that ownership of that property, and It's on the west edge of town, just south of the lodge. And down the hill is DNR managed floodway. There's a small pond down there. He's wanting to excavate some area around that pond to increase its size. I've helped him through the process of filing an application for that work in the floodway through DNR. But it's kind of overwhelming for him, and I'm learning as I go too, but he's likely gonna have to post public notice for the potential work and some hoops to jump through. So in the process of helping him navigate that. 305 North Sycamore, that's the former Lamar Flower Shop, just north of the school. The owner is working on converting that commercial structure into a single family dwelling. So that's something new that you'll maybe see work going on there. She's about to have a storage unit put in the back on the property's east property line, which she's got approval for that. And I know the weather's getting better and we have structures that are in disrepair. And specifically, I'm thinking of your neighbor to the south. I had talked to that owner or that owner's representative on repairing or demolishing that structure. And there's a couple other, and it just brought into my mind, we can only tear down what we can afford to tear down as a town. And the last thing that we had tore down was in the $30,000 range, just over $30,000 to have that property demolished. And so in the process of thinking about that, we have to be, or I have to be careful on what I'm threatening to call unsafe and how much pressure I can apply, and whether or not we as a town are willing to spend the money to tear something down where there's no activity in bringing it up to structurally sound conditions. So then in looking at the ordinance, there is supposed to be an unsafe building fund in ordinance 159.10. And I asked Julie by email how much money was in that fund, and apparently there is no unsafe building fund established as a line item in the budget. And the ordinance reads, an unsafe building fund is hereby established in the operating budget of the town in accordance with the provisions of IC 367912, and pursuant to the provisions contained therein, any balance remaining at the end of the fiscal year shall be carried over in the fund for the following year and does not revert to the general fund. So apparently we don't have, and I don't know if we need one. The ordinance says we're supposed to have a line item for that. It's supposed to be.
We have one line that's been a pass through for the grants as the houses have been demolished.
So that's what I was gonna ask you. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what-
Yeah.
And there was that one fund that we discussed that had 11,200, and did you ask Julie about that one? Cause I
don't know anything.
think that had to do with unsafe building grant, I believe. And that was either some money that was carried over from, oh gosh, I guess we demolished 5 or 6 houses and then the building at the park and the building across from the bakery. So I think it's some money that's been held over left over from the projects.
So all that's not something I deal with directly, but I just wanted to put that out there. Do we have a way to keep putting a little money away for demolishing buildings that need to come down, or do we just work around that and it's a non-issue? Is basically what I'm just putting out there.
Well, one of two things I would think need to happen. We need to actually establish a fund or change the code. Because it's in there, was shall be.
Well, and I'm wondering if,
Well, nothing dictates that there's money in the fund.
Right, we established the fund, yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe when they started all those unsafe houses that they did take down, if maybe something similar was started, maybe Julie just doesn't remember, because to me, that sounds like verbiage to be in compliance with. what
Yeah,
those
do you
rules are.
remember how that all panned out, Becky? I don't remember how it all.
I know that we've had that line item and we just never decided what to put into it and how and when.
So maybe it's not specifically called that, maybe
So many of these grants, a lot of them have had to be 90-10, or, the towns have to put up a little bit of money from somewhere, and so. I think it's good to have a fund like that with a little bit of revenue in it, so we're not having to try to pull it out of the general or wherever we can find it, but.
And part of the use of that fund is if you have an unsecured building that's abandoned, there's detail in the unsafe building section of the code that details how you board it up. You have to use a certain kind of plywood attached a certain way, it has to be painted white. I mean, there's specifics in that ordinance as to how to do that, secure a structure. And those materials, I would presume, would come from that fund. And the labor to do that if necessary. So that would be a potential use of the money in a fund like that. But I suppose it would be paid for some way or another. I just put it out there, you do with it what you want.
Tom, also on you mentioned the recent one that was near 30,000 or so. I mean, we expect to recoup some of that money at some point too, though, right? As the.
Well, I suppose
property sells or-
there's a lien against the
Right.
lot now and the owner of that lot, but
I mean, possible we don't, but the expectation is that.
I mean, it could be 5 years or
Right.
45 years down the road.
So
I guess my point is it could possibly almost be self-funding if you're, able to recover some of that money and put it back into that fund.
Sure.
Have it available for the next round or.
And of course, there have been times in the past where there were grants issued and available for blighted properties in towns. I know Richmond got a lot of money over the last 8 years to demolish homes through grant work. So that would be a place to put that if there
We own
were.
that property, or do they own that property, and we just have a lien?
They own it, they own
So that they're still responsible for the taxes.
it, and maintain a lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, in talking with that, I mean, maybe something that we need to take to town council is not only is the unsafe building fund not funded, but I noticed in reviewing our budget with Julie, I noticed that the sidewalk grant fund is pretty shallow with money. It doesn't have much, and I don't think the tree removal fund has anything left in it. And, I mean, we're coming to the time of year, people wanna apply for the 50/50 for tree removal or apply for 50/50 for the sidewalks. They're not funded, so maybe we need to evaluate how we're gonna fund these and how much are we gonna fund them for the summer and.
Yeah, there's that line item that's called housing grant, I think,
Yes.
and I don't think it's ever been applied to anything. That's what, $10,000?
It's 11.
It's
11?
So maybe we just need to get our line items right and move some money around, but. I mean, we're encouraging people to take out their dead trees and we have a 50/50 grant still, right? But we don't have any money in it match. Same way with the sidewalk.
The tree grants usually get funded out of electric, because most trees are seen as hazard to electric, so.
So we probably need to evaluate that at the town council. And just notice that those line, I think one of them's totally empty and the other one maybe has 125,000 in there. Much.
That's really all I have, unless you have questions.
Has there been much work on the property, the Connellton property up north? Where does that
Yes, sir.
stand?
There hasn't been anything done through the winter. It is secured, it looks a lot better than it did before. But I would anticipate that there would be some interior activities going on once the weather breaks. I know there's no heat currently in the building, so that would make a difference in doing drywall, patching, mudding, things like that. So
Have you actually been inside that house?
I have been inside that house. Yes,
I'm just,
and I have some pictures. It's really not that bad.
okay, good.
They've repaired the floor.
That was my question.
Yeah,
How
they
bad,
repaired
how
the-
often was,
Yeah, they repaired the floor in the bathroom where around the tub had softened the structure underneath. They put scabs and new joists in there. Structurally, I think it's a sound building. There's no open holes that if there were a fire and a fireman had to go in there to search, that they're gonna fall through or anything like that. I think it's a safe structure as far as that goes.
Just need to get some finish work going, get someone in there.
Anything else?
One thing that comes up every couple of years, I know when Aaron Tate built his pole barn down there at Mission and everyone forgot about it. People built pole barns around town and people get upset when they happen and then it dies down. And I really think that's something that we need to try to give Tom some direction on as far as, because it's quite possible that someone could build a pole barn downtown Main Street basically, or something that looks like a pole barn. And we don't want that, but right now, what is there to prevent that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know that there is anything in the Indiana Residential Code or in the IBC that says that style of structure is not legal and can't be occupied. And I don't think as a town have adopted anything to outlaw it, and I don't know that we actually can. I mean, the state makes those rules.
Yeah.
And
So if the state says there's that, so I just want to understand that if the state says it's okay, we can't trump them.
I think we did like an architectural standards review for a certain part of town.
is that for a look or a structural?
I think it would be more for a look. Yeah, you're talking about, I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I would say more for a look.
There might be something we could do about getting some sort of ordinance or requirement. Not allowing, 5 rib,
Yeah,
sheet metals.
yeah, I don't know exactly how it reads, because I mean, Mike and Penny have used a lot of it on buildings downtown, and what they've done so far looks acceptable, it looks okay, but I mean, it could get, we're kind of treading into some,
Well, that's the problem with when you say, people can be offended by the pole barn structure. It's not that it's pole barn structure and it's not that it's made out of
It's
certain
the theory.
materials. Well, even that, I mean, even the metal siding can be done tastefully and look nice. It's just, I don't know, there's something that defines that what you call quote unquote pole barn that is unattractive. And that's really what what people have.
Like, the one on North Elm.
The issue is you have to define it. So, we have to find what those
Yeah.
qualities are that you don't want and build that into, like, say, an aesthetic requirement. It's at least for Main Street, if you want your Main Street to have a certain look rather than, some communities say you gotta have a certain kind of brick or, that kind of thing.
So basically calling out what's required, what the finish is required to be, not trying to eliminate what it can't be. But I think you would attack that by saying it has to have this, for instance, in industrial park. A certain elevation from grade has to be a certain finish of that building.
Right.
And they called out some sort of stone or masonry work as a requirement. That might be the way to address that. I'm not the expert on that, there's no doubt about that.
I think as houses in Hickorytown become demolished and as houses burn down, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more pole barn style structures for houses, and possibly businesses. I mean, our Dollar General could have actually been worse than what it is, but, I just think we need to kind of set some parameters.
Yeah, if you go into Zionsville, everything's brick.
Yeah,
I don't know if we would go.
I don't know if we want to take it that far, but yeah.
A standard of aesthetics.
So how do we go about that? So just talk about it for another 5 years?
Yeah, like we've been doing.
Yeah, so how do we go about that? I mean, you're out of my realm.
A lot of building, or a lot of other communities will define what type of a roof it has on it, and, a certain amount of brick or stone, or if it's a siding, it needs to be one of these 3 colors, or, they'll have just some guidelines.
So it's so we're talking about a new ordinance.
I don't think necessarily an ordinance, but a lot of times they'll call them an overlay for a certain district.
Overlay. So
Yeah.
the overlay is what? That we're,
This particular area has a little bit of,
Siding cover.
this particular area has heightened standards, I guess you would say.
so how do we go about doing the overlay? I mean, does it have to be a approved? Is it a legal document? Is it just something that we,
It's a part of your code, yeah.
do we just advise it, make it a part of the code, and then it has to be accepted, then it has to be accepted by town council, right?
I think I remember reading something about we cannot do some of this architectural requirements. But I'll check, okay?
I don't know, I'm at, this is,
So some level of it is certainly allowed, because I mean, like Jason said, I mean, you go some places and the only reason those places look the way they do is because there's there's standards that are set for how they have to build those structures in those certain areas, so.
It's a development ordinance.
Yeah, and I don't know what the line is of what you can and cannot dictate, but there's certainly something that can be done there.
so,
But I think you do have to be crystal clear about like just saying no pole barns is not gonna cut it.
so Becky, are you looking into that?
Yes. Will do.
Tom, are you gonna look into
Yes.
that? Okay, so you,
Maybe check with some of the other communities that maybe look like they have something like that.
I think a lot of times it will be a low sloped roof, there will be definitions, it must be above 512, or that's one of the defining characteristics. The colors, the materials, a lot of times a lot of communities you go into, you would not see metal siding allowed, and.
But I think that's where, you could say something like if using the ribbed metal siding, it must be one of XYZ colors to
Correct.
fit in with the downtown aesthetic. Or like, completely excluded if that's what you want, but. I think it can be done tastefully, but
and like you said, maybe so much of it has to be stone. Doesn't mean, there's the big stone now, but. Say you have to use actual stone, but the look that you want,
Kind of one of those things, I think with the downtown, I know when we redid the streetscape and all, I was very concerned about totally pulling out every tree and defoliating every tree on Main Street, so we tried to figure out which ones we're gonna keep and which ones we're gonna get rid of, and I think it's the same thing. If all these buildings would put pole barn siding on them and all the trees come down, we've totally lost the character of the town, so I think there's some things that we've gotta try to keep our hands on a little bit. Without being overly strict either. I mean, we gotta be reasonable.
We agree to get some research started.
Yes, we agree.
Do we want to ask John to see if there's anything legally we need to be aware of?
You want me to ask her or you can ask her?
is Main Street and or the next block over, is that the main concern?
I think it would be, yeah, I think it would be.
Or Main Street organization. There's a local organization, isn't there?
There you option also on there.
Would you have any input or willingness to?
Well, I mean, I think you could just package as maintaining the historical qualities, the ambiance of the community, because that's what like Carmel does. My son just moved to Cary, North Carolina. You go there, they're not allowed to have signs really high. They're not allowed to have, they want to maintain that tree and outdoorsy atmosphere. So you just kind of package it in a way that this is for the good of the community.
Sure.
And I mean, we can talk about it in Muddy Acres now. We don't really meet like quarterly, so might not be real soon.
You're interested
We just met last week.
Interested in doing a little research on that?
I can talk to people.
It's always a start.
Some other towns will have, like an architectural review committee for a certain portion of town too, so any changes to a building, so. Dale's Pizza wanted to paint their building red or whatever, we'd had to present the color to the architectural standards committee and, look at it and say it looks good or that kind of thing, so.
Well, I think that's valuable anyway, because, if you're presenting your town a certain way, and for instance, my husband and Helpine on the Iron Gate, and then Anton and Celia put the graffiti art. is that part of the Hagerstown
Right.
culture or not? And who has to look at it? And, those kind of things, but I don't know if it had to be approved or if it's just their building, they do what they want, or, those things are kind of common for small town.
Yeah.
Especially on a main thoroughfare.
You see a lot of murals
Mhm.
on buildings. My thought on that is, how are you gonna touch that up in 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 years when the face of that brick starts popping loose? And
Well, and yeah, and with them, I do it because I just left there. I was there before. They didn't really paint it before they put it up. So the building structural wise doesn't look very great. The artwork looks good, but then the rest of it is kind of. And then, so maybe you have standards for all of that. If you have a mural, what are the requirements for maintaining the structure or keeping it? And I hate to say it, but that's kind of part of the
Mhm.
politics thing.
Well, we're kind of going back to talking about the Meadow Creek look,
Mhm.
which you've discussed years and years and years.
Mhm.
But I think it's valuable if you drive through a tourist town, or if you're traveling on your way somewhere, you go through a cute little town, you go, oh, Madison is really cute. And it's part of the,
Yeah, look, yeah.
I'm not sure what our sign ordinance looks like as far as down the main street.
We have one.
Business
We
signs.
do.
Yes, we updated it.
Yeah.
We got height and size and lights and,
It's pretty tight.
yeah, it's pretty tight.
I know.
It does, but it has some limitations, which is good. I think the consistency that Tom's talking about, like I've mentioned it before, but the one I always think of is Dublin, Ohio. You drive through there. Every sign is a black wrought iron sign.
Oh, well, yeah,
You know what I
we're
mean?
not, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we need to go that way, but that consistency is what you notice.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily notice that, oh, there's no huge signs in this area. They're all similar size. That you don't notice that, but you notice when they're all the same construction or material or spot on the building, or that kind of thing. That leaves an impression. But that's what you have to decide. Do you want to leave an impression and have a consistent look, or you just want to keep it from looking gaudy and out of place? Because those kind of have two different approaches.
Anything else that concerns the building commissioner?
I don't know if anyone else watched our meeting or not, but we did have a motion which was approved to introduce the new salary ordinance that would cover Tom's position from part-time to full-time. We're supposed to be having a work session at some point, I hope soon, to discuss that and talk about hours and the hourly rate if it's going to change. But just as an update that was approved. Or not approved, it was introduced.
Okay. All right, we have any old business we want to get into? I know we have some old business, but is there anything we want to get into?
That, like Dylan brought up earlier, a couple of meetings ago about data centers. We probably need to take a look at that too.
Yeah, and we talked about that at one of our meetings, Brian. We had brought that up. I don't think there was really much productive conversation.
Yeah. I think when Henry County decided to put theirs in, that kind of probably took the pressure off Wayne County. So, that's getting to be pretty political too, and now you've got, what's gonna happen, I mean, you listen to politics, it's now, there's been the thought process that and I think it's smart, but if somebody wants to build a data center, they have to build their electric source too. They can't rob from the community, have to build their own plant. Which I think is smart, because then that doesn't draw, the citizens aren't having to take the rate increase because of the lack of energy.
Yeah, I think it goes well beyond that though.
Well, I
There's
think
like the 4 or 5 million gallons of groundwater,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
constant running of the.
there's all kinds of issues, which I don't think we'll get into it because right now, I mean, if we want to, I mean, you talked about, if you're gonna put an ordinance in where it's not allowed within the 2 mile fringe or whatever. I mean, once again, we can talk about it, but if we want to do it, it's gotta be done. It's gotta be done from here, from this group. Trouble is, they put it outside the 2 mile fringe, they might suck the water anyhow.
Well, yeah, well, they might, but at
Well,
least we can
say, I
protect
mean,
the
outside of 2
friend.
miles is still gonna affect your.
Right, but I mean,
impact your water.
I don't know that we can totally control that. I mean, we can keep it out of the 2 mile fringe, but in all honesty, we're gonna even put it in the 2 mile fringe. We don't really have any space for it, the 2 mile fringe, too much.
Well, some spots along the one, I think, maybe
Yeah,
north and north.
yeah. How far does that go out there? They'd have to take Schaefer's out. Does it go much? Is Faust in it? Faust is outside the 2 mile fringe. Yeah, I don't think Schaefer's gonna budge much.
Basically Hoover Road.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you wanna take it out of the 2 mile fringe, once again, I would recommend that we not talk about it, but determine what we have to do and do it and take it to town council and see if it comes up to a vote. What they want to do. That'd be my recommendation.
I think a lot of people, when you say data center, I don't think a lot of people understand what it all entails. I think if we could get all the information on, this is what it would mean if for some reason one came in. So I think a lot of people, like we had somebody come into the meeting and say, well, why wouldn't we want a data center? Well, how much time do you have? I can talk to you about it. But I don't think they understand what they do. Well, they know they make computing, right? But what they do to an environment or a community or the people who live nearby and so on. I mean, natural gas runs cleaner than coal, but it's not perfectly clean. And it runs 24/7, 365. Dozens and dozens and dozens of generators humming, droning throughout the day and the night, This doesn't seem pleasant to me.
I think there's a lot of people that have never had to live in an environment where there's constant background noise of industry. And so without having been exposed to that, it's hard to even rationalize what that would feel like or sound, for a short time, my wife and I lived with some friends, the south side of Richmond, relatively close to the recycling center and, the factories and things going on down there. And there was just a constant at night, you lay down, it's quiet in the house, but you can still hear all of that in the background.
Living in the 1500 block of South Sixth, and that's all I could ever hear was a recycling center and all that down through there.
Yeah.
And it's nonstop. It's supposed to get accustomed to it, but,
I think even now, I mean, with Manchester behind, I noticed their noises.
I about lost my mind and when I lived in town and my neighbor's radar home. I know I couldn't say.
I lose mine when a neighbor runs the leaf blower for an hour and a half.
Oh.
The leaves.
I'm unconscious.
Think about other people.
Outlawing leaf blower.
Yeah, we need something in the ordinance.
Old business, old new business, I guess, but it's old business. My time's kind of limited with this council. But I would be willing, if Becky and Chris would be willing to take time to really evaluate the comprehensive plan. I really believe it needs to be brought up. I think and then I think it would be easier for us to understand what needs to come out of it, what needs to maybe look to be added to it, and then bring it to the council once we kind of have it laid out. And then if council approves it, I'm still thinking that Sean's the only one that can change it. And that's tricky too, but instead of making Sean go into pieces here and there, if we really could just get a final look at the comprehensive plan, but I think if we was challenged on the 5 years, has it been really updated, looked over the last 5 years, we would probably not win that challenge, which could affect our grant. A lot of grants, you have to have a comprehensive plan that has been effectively updated or done new within 5 years, or you can't get a grant. I think if we was challenged, we'd be in trouble a little bit. Maybe not, we might have a little ground to stand on, but it's kind of overwhelming and it's hard to do in a setting like this. I mean, you probably have to sit down 3 or 4 hours and really hash it. I know most of you don't want to do that, but Chris might not want to. But I think Becky and I have an interest in seeing that it gets updated.
Yeah, we do.
November of 22 was our last update, so we're still within the 5 years.
Yeah.
So does that need to be a motion?
To work on it. I don't know.
Well, so happens I have a
Yeah, I know.
assessing.
Becky and I-
You know.
Becky and I's been talking about it. It's just really hard to come to these meetings and gather stuff and I don't know, Sean, you was on the first when we built that thing, wasn't you? I mean,
Can't revision before that.
yeah, we come in 2 more times during the month and work 2 or 3 hours each time just to that's all we did. That just
For months and months and months.
it's, I don't, so, like I said, we could get that updated by the end of the year, if that was a goal, that would be super. I know Becky and I, we kind of understand where some of this all come from, because we was there when it was built. Sean would too, but I know Sean has a lot on his plate with the school.
I'm happy to make the updates, but yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time to.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of time to collect it all and figure it out. And so Becky and I's been talking, like I said, my time's kind of limited doing this. I mean, I got about 8 months and I need to get on it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Or we won't get it done.
I'm ready anytime you are.
Okay. Becky's kind of retired and I'm retired and that's on point.
You said
I
retired.
have now confirmed.
I heard retired. That's what I heard.
Yeah, for the record, retire.
Yeah.
We talked about before the annual break, holiday break, I guess, about putting together some kind of offer for the property behind Graceland Heights.
We didn't talk about that.
So far, we haven't had anybody, she's not been willing to talk.
What you do is you get a grocery sack full of cash. You just show up with the cash. Never hurts to keep trying, I suppose.
I would let somebody else head that up. I think I'll be busy, Becky and I'll be busy on it. I think it needs to be done, but
I know it needs to be done.
Chris will tell you, Chris had some pretty good thoughts. I mean, we need to really have a really good drawing and a really good look of what it's gonna look like, but until do you wanna spend all this money and they never show up? I mean, you spend $3,000 to $10,000 getting all this rendered and all this done and then never showed up.
Bit of a gamble.
There is a grant for that, isn't there?
There was a print done a long time ago, a subdivision of it, but I
There's
think,
been two different
yeah,
layouts for.
just never been able to get, I mean, never been able to get it purchased. I don't think town council's against it, do you?
I wouldn't feel that way now.
I don't think they are either. Um. Work session, do you have to have everything specifically stated when it is, or is that?
I don't think a work session,
Executive session.
executive session you have to.
So
but,
maybe we just bring that back up in work session whenever they call that.
You know, one thing I think we had discussed at one time was having a drone fly over the area and I could get a friend of mine to do design of what a subdivision layout might look like, and you know, how this road could go in first and then that road, and you know, I could probably do that. I'll try to see what he would charge us to do that. And then that would be a good visual to show the landowner and to kind of show whoever else might be interested in
I think we can, I mean, from the sounds of it, our EDC money will be gone anyway within the next couple of years, right? Maybe we could use some of that money to pay for that.
Yeah, I don't know that, that would have ever been I don't know, it might be another Indiana, but I don't know. Land properties are getting pretty outrageous, so it could be an awful big number. We'll definitely make it a part, Becky and I'll definitely make it a part of the comprehensive plan.
Of you being president, you don't want here.
Has anybody talked with?
I have no idea.
You wouldn't have known that.
It's all focusing on Richmond right now.
Yes.
But we did not buy in on their, was it $5,000 for the? Not that I mean, I think if there was money to be made, I don't think they'd really care, but
Was that what the land trust come out from that?
remember, I'm trying to remember who requested the $5,000. I didn't know it wasn't like the foundation, but it was, there's now two different entities though, right? You have the land bank and the land trust, right?
it.
And the land bank is who requested the $5,000 from us and we declined.
That is correct, yeah, and the land bank was for basically switching ownership of unowned properties, which there really aren't any unowned properties in Hagerstown. There are in Richmond and there are some other towns in the county, but yeah, I took some stuff on that, so yeah, seminars on that.
But I know, the land trust, the, like, 5 to 11 are part of, it's kind of, they have Richmond investors who are focused on them. But the community foundation might be interested in developing something similar with investors from our area.
Yeah.
If we, I'm assuming we have.
I don't know.
So I don't remember the name of the outfit, but it's funded through the Lilly Foundation grant. Actually, Chad, your brother, was telling me he was gonna bring it up at the meeting. But he couldn't come because he's now sick. We were just talking about this yesterday. That this organization wants to build a paved path, basically from Subway all the way to Teeter Road. And it could be funded through this grant. And the people who own the nature preserve are okay with it.
I could get to my house faster from Main Street.
Was there something on that paper?
In the paper?
Yeah, there was a guest at the Heart of Hagerstown meeting who brought it up.
Yeah, I came to St. John's, been working on it for Wayne County, and it's been something we've been working on.
I think
for
that's
a couple of years, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually in the comprehensive plan.
it's in the comprehensive plan too.
Yeah, it's in there, kind of a walk to the nature. call
I
it.
think,
walk
I
that
think
day.
part of the idea is that when the summer activities down there at the park and the soccer and all that, that people can easily walk into town from across the road.
A lot of it too, we have a lot of walkers in Hagerstown that walk out at the cemetery all the time,
Oh,
during
yeah.
funerals all the time.
Yeah,
And that would give them another place to walk
I was
at.
thinking that too.
And it would also really be a good connection. We finally have the soccer park connected with town with the bridge and the sidewalk down there, and we have the new sidewalk out here. So it's another connectivity thing, you know.
And when the dog park gets in down here.
And when the dog park gets in
there'll be a lot
down
of
there.
People walking. the dogs
Correct, yeah.
From Main Street, they get them from Main Street to the dog park.
Yep,
So,
without having to walk on the road.
like I said, I'm pretty sure that's in the comprehensive plan currently, that
Yeah, it is.
they're developing trail through the nature. It's in there.
Well, it sounds like we could get it funded through this organization if we so desire.
So who's heading that
Well, I
up?
mean,
Somebody's.
Chad brought it up, so
Chad's a.
no, I would help it. We could
It'd be great,
do it.
yeah, whatever it takes to get it done.
Well, I think that's the key thing. I mean, there just has to be a group that makes sure that they see things through and it just doesn't get talked about and dropped.
When you talk about a walking path from Subway to Teeter Road,
Uh,
what comes in my mind is floodplain.
It is in the floodplain, yeah, but I mean, it's definitely in the floodplain, but
But it
it
definitely involve state
yeah,
in that piece of it.
yeah. We don't have an easement in through there for trucks and equipment and stuff.
Sean, where, is the latest update published? I mean, where can we find it? So,
Where is it?
yeah,
Um,
On the web.
It is.
It's on the web.
it's on our webpage,
Yeah, I
under
went-
document vault in there.
Cause I went in
I
and
think it's,
went in there and looked at it the other day to kind of start messing around with it there.
She asked me about the comprehensive plan, you know, but she-
Yeah.
it's not on the website, but at least there used to be a link.
There used
Yeah.
to be.
There definitely was, because that's how it was accessed.
That's how.
Yeah, it's on the front page.
I thought it was.
You are comprehensive.
And right on the front page, Becky.
Yeah.
Of the town site.
Okay,
And when I looked at it, that appendix, that looks like the appendix is the most updated thing on the back of that.
Mhm.
It shows what we've accomplished. Jason, you know somebody that's good in photography?
Yeah. Couple people, yeah.
I mean, maybe, students? They don't teach photography at school anymore.
Yes, they do.
Oh, they do?
There's no film involved.
Darn.
Well, you know, if you look at comprehensive plan, it's really dated as far as the pictures, and I just thinking, we have a budget. You know, maybe it's a way to take a couple of high school kids that's very committed to that, does a good job where we can assign them that project, we could assign them that project and, you know, compensate them a little bit for their work, you know.
The photos would be good for the new website as well, because a lot of our photos are outdated.
Yeah, so you know, we hardly ever use our budget. I think the only thing that ever comes out of our budget is for. I mean, the budget, yeah, the budget sets there every year, we don't use it, and I'm just thinking if there's some really dedicated high school kids, it would be a great opportunity for them and maybe a way that we could, of course, they gotta turn in good work.
Right.
If it's bad work, you gotta tell them, hey, you gotta go do it again. I mean, we have take responsibility.
Yeah.
Be responsible for your work. So, you know, that comprehensive plan's outdated, the you know, like you said, Dylan, the site's outdated. And like I said, I know that some people really have a real gift for that. I'm not looking at going out and hiring a professional to do it, but maybe we could. With these phones today, they can take pretty, you know, they can manipulate them and change them.
There was a point in time when I did professional photography.
There
I
you
think,
go.
I think they've got a plan where they give each other the eye like they know someone to do it.
You know, I like I said, I just think there's.
If you're allowed to use my photography equipment, you go take something.
I just think it would be neat if, you know, we're always talking about, you know, we need to get kids and younger people involved in the community and doing things, but yet sometimes we eliminate them when there's opportunities. And I just think that, you know, somebody gifted that this is an opportunity for them to contribute to the community, and we have some funds to.
Maybe like an NHS project too.
Right.
Like a volunteer time for.
Getting hours, but now you mentioned that, and of course, Chad would probably love to speak to this. If they're, you know, coming with this, current batch of freshmen, there are new regulations, with them, and they have to actually have so many work hours to graduate. And if we could figure out ways in our community to help with that, because this is gonna be a difficult task to fulfill. I don't envy your brother at all.
There's a lot of kids and
Yeah.
not as many job openings for kids.
That's right. So, you know, something like that could help toward that. You said internship, but I thought, well, that sounds kind of neat, actually. Or other little,
Probably other. Or, you know, where you can do it as part on-site, part from school, part group, part, you know, so it's not just one guy working one person.
right, that's great. But yeah, we need to, and I think it's, in the long run, could be a very good thing. Because we're integrating the kids into the community, as we should be doing already, right? But it would also help the kid, help the school corporation, help the community.
Well, even if you just did a community photo, you know, where we submit your stuff and have them on display at the library. or-
Yeah.
Then you could get a whole new, with that submission, you get permission to use it in whatever way you see fit.
Yeah,
And then you've got yourself a pool of pictures from the eyes of your townspeople.
I'm glad you showed up tonight.
I'm just trying to figure out what you guys are doing.
So are we.
We're really, really good at talking. Especially this guy.
One month.
It'll go by so fast. It will.
Be a very quiet meeting.
All right.
Timer to adjourn.
Yeah.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Now, all those in favor,
Aye.
any opposed?
Did everyone sign that paper that Tom set out
I did,
for those 2 papers?
I got that.
yeah.
He's on
Yeah,
BCA
you're gonna-
because he's president.
You're gonna need my number.